Combining the strengths of a fighter, Heart of Fury on kill, full attacking with charge even on enemies that are on your path, not only the target. Combine this with a chanter, an invocation that gives you your resources back over time and also lets you empower all your abilities for free while this invocation is active, passively. That's what the fighter chanter does at level 19 and onwards. But as we would see in this little build guide, it's not all the class needs. The class doesn't become strong only at 19. It's quite good before that too. Let's look at our character real quick. So, devoted Troubadour, fighter chanter. You could probably go any other subclass or no subclass. It's totally up to preference. I personally like the extra pen, extra damage through the pen and the extra accuracy you get. And the Troubadour, I originally took the Troubadour not because of brisk recitation, which I never switched on because it doesn't work with buff phrases, so these need to linger so they work properly. But I took the Troubadour for the 50% longer linger combined with intellect. That's why I can combine two different phrases, because they both have 6-second duration, 6-second linger. And might is max that is actually 20. You can't really mouse over it in this game, which is kind of sad. You can do that in PoE 2. Constitution is at 9 base. I took out 1 point there, so I could put 1 more into intellect. Now, while at the final build this works very well, it isn't ideal for the kind of character this ended up to be. This is just my first character I got to level 20 and am to finish a game very soon with. So if I would redo this character, and this is a guide, so let's talk about it. You don't need maxed intellect when you want to go this route where you have the chanter only for basically prolonging you have the chanter for this, so you get empowered on all your abilities and you regain resources every 3 seconds, which is especially important for charge. You saw in the opening clip being able to just spam charge even though it costs 2 discipline. Because of this, you can just keep spamming it, and it is already pretty strong if it does what it says, full attack on target, and just primary attack on everyone caught in the past. But yeah, right now it's actually full attack on everybody. And combined with the mob stance, which starts out as a cleave stance, so you don't get this originally. So this is basically a melee class, so intellect max wasn't necessary, and it would probably be wiser to put it into dex, which I have at 10. You could probably put stuff into perception too. I have it at 10, which isn't always ideal because you can't spot traps with it. And resolve, I have it at 10 but I think you could probably go a lot lower with resolve. Yeah, might is important to have it maxed, and constitution I guess doesn't really matter too much. I have it at 9, you could probably go lower than 9. At the start of the game it's kind of nice to have a little bit of HP, because you won't start out OP with this build. You start out very strong, but you don't ever get as strong as level 19 before you get to level 19. That's where the real fun starts. These, I kind of randomly distributed these. I put a lot into mechanics because I know it from the first game that it can be useful, but this ended up not being as good because of the trap mechanics, because you need perception to spot traps and not mechanics like in the first game. Put into alchemy because it makes potions stronger, and scrolls of course, drugs of course. I put into arcana for Moonwell, but I ended up using Moonwell once or twice. It doesn't seem to be as strong as it was in PoE 1. It does actually seem to run out after 30 seconds. While in PoE 1 it keeps refreshing for a very long time. And yeah, these I just kept equaling. So at first there were some that were at 0, so I got those to 1, then I got everything to 2, and then I started to get everything to 3. Here's some of the item boni and some other boni. You're gonna get most of these by just playing the game, so you can pause and look at them, but they're not that important for the build. So to have a real look at the build, we're just gonna hit the respec screen real quick. And that's gonna give a much better overview of how we leveled this character. So yeah, as I said, I just kind of randomly did this. Do it as you preference it, as you preferred. So I started with this. This is already pretty good on its base. Grace is converted to hits, and concentration of course. But the upgrade is just ridiculous. You get 25% hit to crit. So the rogue used to have the highest hit to crit conversion in PoE 1. You got 30 fighting was 10%, and on top of that you get the upgraded dirty fighting for 20%. Now in PoE 2 that doesn't even work anymore. You only get dirty fighting for 10%. But this is not just hit to crit, this is also still grace to hit and hit to crit in 1. This is amazing. This is one of the reasons why maxing int didn't end up being a reason for me to restart the character. Because maxing int gave us more duration on this. So it's 20 plus, I think almost 30 seconds. And of course, once you get to the empower, use this. And once you empower your abilities, they will last even longer. So yeah, get this at level 1. And yeah, I'm just gonna randomly do these again. Doesn't really matter. And at level 2 I got fast runner, I think. Now that I respect. But if you're gonna play this character from the start, of course you wanna level differently. Respecking right now is bugged. I still choose to respec a couple of times because I just didn't know how all these abilities were gonna end up working, and yeah, definitely my character ended up being very different from what I originally intended. Originally I was still looking at the dragon chant, which was OP in PoE 1, but yeah, it ended up being a disappointment in this game. So what I did at level 2, I got this. So this is changed in this game. It still does a raw damage, it did in PoE 1, but now it also restores HP. So at fighter level 1 you automatically get this, and both of these combined are pretty nice when you start out with the character. And you just have a lot of passive self-healing. And of course you're gonna get level 2 pretty much just by doing nothing. Just by following the game order, so to say. And yeah, also get level 4 relatively quickly. You mainly need to talk to people. If this isn't your first playthrough, then you know what I mean. And yeah, at level 4, that is the first upgraded power level. So in this game, if you are a single class, you get your first new power level at level 3 and then every 2 levels. And if you are a multi-class, as in this guide, you get your first new power level at level 4 and then every 3 levels. So the next is at 7, the next is at 10, the next is at 13, 16 and 19. So when I started this character, I did not know this, but this is one of the main reasons why fighter is OP in this game, is the cleaving stance. The cleaving stance, as it says here, when attacking several enemies at once. It's good, but it doesn't really explain that, so I didn't really know what this meant. But as I said before, you get Heart of Fury, which is a high level barbarian ability, attacks all the targets around you. You get this passively on each kill with a melee weapon you get. So dual wielding is very good, very important. I went with dual sabers because as devoted you need to choose one weapon style and you're not gonna be as good with the other weapons, obviously. And I found that sabers, I'm gonna show my sabers after I went through this, but sabers is one of the stronger choices in this game because it's a pirate based game and there's a lot of sabers. I found 2 very awesome sabers that I wouldn't really want to replace with any other weapon. But you could also go swords, normal swords, one-handed swords are very strong in this game. But because of the cleaving stance, the way it works, and also later on because of charge, how it works. It's basically full attacks, and what full attack means in this game is you basically attack with both your weapons at once. I mean, you don't attack with them at once as like one frame in between, but you very quickly attack with both weapons. So if you had a two-handed weapon, this wouldn't really do anything for you. So yeah, get this at level 4, and since it is a power level, we get both a chanter and a fighter ability. And of course, now that I'm level 20 and I've respec anyway, I didn't get this, but for leveling this character, super important to get the skeletons. The skeletons are a lot stronger in this game than they were in PoE 1. In PoE 1 they pretty much instantly died and they didn't do any damage. In this game it relatively rarely happens that they get killed. So because it's 3 of them and they're a lot more tanky than they used to be in the first game, these can carry a fight for you early game. And you can also get an upgrade for when one of them dies, falls in battle, it splits into 2 lesser. This pretty much guarantees that they will always be there for their full duration of 12 seconds. You'll just always be able to resummon the skeletons without all of the skeletons having died, and that is super useful. And also, as I showed in another video, with summons in this game you can basically make sure your character doesn't die. If you know the fights well, if you know the terrain very well, what you can just do is you can approach a fight, trigger combat start, then you will run a little bit away from where the fight starts, so that if your character should get knocked down, the enemies will return to where they came from, and ideally they will not be able to see your knockdown character, so they will be out of the line of sight, and either you will automatically revive. It's important that you had summons out though before you died, so at some point in the fight, best is just to summon the skeletons right at the start of the fight, because you get the phrases for free in this game, which is different than it was in PoE 1. In PoE 1 you had to gain the phrases through chanting, but in this game always at combat start you can just summon for free, use an invocation for free, and yeah, if you just cast the skeletons at the start of combat, you get knocked down, you're guaranteed that you don't get the "you died" screen unless you had 3 wounds, then you will die. And the enemies, if you just pulled them away a little bit from the combat start point, as I said earlier, the enemies will just return to their original point where the combat started, and ideally they will not be in line of sight, and either your character will just get up straight away, or you are just able to rest and that way revive your character. As I also showed in the other video, right now there's 2 bugs going on with this. One is if you're in a city where you can wait, then the enemies don't need to be out of sight for this to work. They can be in plain sight if you get ambushed, for example. It can be kind of impossible to go somewhere where the enemies would be returning to where they came from and be out of sight. But right now, until it's fixed, waiting doesn't have the same requisites, doesn't have the same requirements, rather, sorry, my English is pretty bad, than resting has. So resting, you can only rest when there's no enemies inside, but you can always wait. So if you're in a city where resting isn't possible, you get knocked down but you had your skeletons out previously, you will still be able to wait and revive. And the other little bug that right now is still working but hopefully will get fixed is if you're in ship combat, if you boarded a ship, an enemy ship, you're in actual combat on the ship, and you had your skeletons out at the start of the fight, or any kind of summons, works with everything, not only skeletons. And there's pretty much no way to be out of sight when you're on a ship. You're always going to be close to your enemies, even if they return to their point of origin. But right now, funnily enough, if you had your summons out, you get knocked down and you apparently lose the fight, the enemies will return to their ship and combat will end and you will win. The game does not understand what just happened. You don't get any loot, but you win the fight, you don't die. So now, the next levels are a bit preference. But since ideally you should have gone with the cleaving stance in the previous level, now you want to go with something to support that cleaving stance. So if you're dual wielding sabers already, which you probably should, then you will go with the 2 weapon style. So dual wielding gives you minus 30% recovery time, and this 2 weapon style gives you another minus 15%. And now you want to be able to always hit or crit your enemies. The more you level, the more crit conversion you're gonna get. As I said before, this is pretty OP. But there's also gonna be a specific saber helping you with this, which we'll show in a bit. So yeah, usually you want to go confident aim if you're using the cleave stance a lot already. And now we get another power level. You can upgrade constant recovery, or you can upgrade this. Totally up to you. Are you struggling to survive in the fights? Do you need more offensive or do you need more defensive? Go with this or with this. And now you can upgrade your skeletons. For the chanter there isn't really that much you can do. You can go ancient memory. Just keep in mind that this is a phrase now, so if you are troubadour like I was, you can chant both of these, because they will have 6-second linger and 6-second chant time, so you'll get double heal out of this. And yeah, the skeletons are pretty good as well. If you plan on respeccing, and if hopefully respeccing gets fixed. Right now respeccing is broken and you lose a lot of abilities when you respec. So I lost all my watcher abilities when I respecced. And also, before I had my very first respec, I had the trainers that you meet in Neketaka. So there's different people, you can pay 3000 copper. You get points in Arcana and Survival and whatnot. I didn't know this, so first of all I spent a lot of money on trainers, and then I respecced and I lost all of these points. So just bear in mind that it will be better for you to respec, get rid of the skeletons when you're high level enough and you don't need the skeletons anymore. Because you can get stuff like Snake's Reflexes, and Bull's Will, and Bear's Fortitude, which my character has all 3 of these. You saw in the first clip that I had like 150 Will, 150 Reflex, all these crazy numbers, when I had the Vigorous Defense active as well, plus 20 to all. But yeah, leveling this character, definitely go with the skeletons. I talked a lot about the skeletons in the one of the previous levels, how good it can be. But I'm just showing a non-respec build right now. Yeah, since I did get this last time, then we get this. Might as well put points in this as well, because I did originally. And as I said, you can do all those. They're not important for the build, like putting stuff into mechanics and whatnot. It's your own preference, it has nothing to do with this build. So yeah, when you're not on a power level, you can only choose an ability for one class. I think I got Determination pretty early as well. It's definitely in my build, so definitely get Determination. When, on which level, is up to your own preference, but you'll definitely eventually get it. Yeah, and now is a new power level, level 10. So it's up to you. You can go charge, as I showed. Charge is very strong. But as long as you don't have the chant that restores resources, you will not be able to use this as much. You're gonna have limited resources. So yeah, this might still be enough because it does a lot of damage combined with the stance. With the cleave stance. But I personally went with Vigorous Defense because it had over 20, I think almost 30 seconds duration for me because I had the high intellect on my character. So I went with that, but there was another reason why I went with it. I had AI on for most of the game because I didn't realize how bad the AI is. And I had both this and this on AI cast. And I realized when I was level 19 or something, at a very late level, I realized that the AI just spammed these abilities at combat start without any reasoning and depleted all resources at once, even though this costs 1 discipline and this costs 2 discipline. So if you have more than 3 discipline, you can use charge as well. But yeah, I didn't realize that. That's why I never picked charge before I got to the invocation. That's something to note. Cast these manually, don't use the AI for it. And yeah, here's another thing. If you don't want to respec, keep in mind you get the Ogres at level 10, power level 4. The Ogres are better than the skeletons. Unupgraded Ogres are better than upgraded skeletons. So this depends. Do you want to go through the early game with less summons or with no summons? Like, you could just get the unupgraded skeletons and never get the upgrade and then switch to the ogres. I personally just found it still worse to respec whenever I felt like I would gain something from a respec. Even after I knew that I lost all my stuff because of the respec, all my trainers. And also later in the game it turned out I didn't get gift from the machine. I imported this character from PoE 1 and this is actually my ultimate chanter, which I imported. And because I respec previously, before I went to the point where you get gift from the machine bag, I didn't get it. But I still found that if you invested into skeletons like I did, just getting these 2 points back, and I put them in, as I said, in stuff like Snake's Reflexes, Bear's Fortitude, and then just switching from the skeletons to the ogres. For me personally, it was worth it. And yeah, this is the pretty good chant for, pretty good phrase for power level 4. So I definitely recommend using this together with Soft Winds of Death. That's why I said I wouldn't necessarily get Ancient Memory. But once again, if you respec, then you can just respec out of Ancient Memory, get another of the defenses instead, grab this, And yeah, let's just hope respeccing gets fixed. That would be the best for all. That you don't lose all your stuff by respec. Let's hope that will happen pretty soon. But yeah, it's up to your own playstyle. If you want to start your character, if you want to plan your character from the start, you might just want to take some different things that I showed here. Not upgrade the skeletons, maybe not get this at all. It's not that big of a deal if you get it. It's not at all a big deal. Don't get it and you should still be fine with the help of summons. Summons are very important early game. So if you don't want to respec, you might still want to get the skeletons at level 1. If you want to respec, definitely get the upgrade. Yeah, these are up to personal preference once again. Yeah, now you definitely want to get charge. I didn't get it. As I said, I didn't know how the AI was wasting all my resources. But charge is very strong. Yeah, on this level, could get a couple of things. But I'd say that this is pretty strong, extra 10% damage. In this game, while might seems to be additive damage, all these other damage resources, then there's a pet that gives you 10% slash damage. And yeah, pretty much any damage source, a 10% from the sabers, everything seems to be multiplicative. So my character had a bit over 100% damage bonus. And I still got the full 30% from my 20 might. So my 105% I think damage bonus ended up being actually 105% more damage. So my sabers just a bit over twice as much as the base damage. Upgrading this is pretty good because all enemies that are relatively close to you give you less recovery on your weapon attacks, which is just insanely good. Of course, also good on these levels are tough, which gives you 2 HP per level even on the levels you already had. So when you level this as early as possible, you're still gonna get like 40 HP out of it or something. It is really strong, of course. More hit to crit conversion. We already have 25% here. And there's also the saber I was talking about, which I'm gonna show. Armored Grace is also very strong. I'm gonna show my armor later, but basically always had armor with 20% penalty, so I didn't 100% use the whole 25%, but I used most of it. So what you get first here is up to preference. You get mob stance or you get Armored Grace. I mean, both is recovery, so you might as well take Armored Grace. Totally up to preference. And here you can now finally get the first level of this. And even the first level is pretty good, I would say. But it depends if you're still using summons a lot. Just keep in mind that the phrases, where you at combat start you get full phrases for free. If you use this, you can't use your summons, ogres or skeletons, whatever you have at this point. And Just getting quick and insightful is not as strong. Definitely not as strong as having summons. Having ogres, for example, if you respect, or even if you have skeletons. You could even get the Drake. So you might just want to wait till power level 7 before you get this. Well, I mean, you'd have to get this one level earlier, of course. And yeah, other choices are, of course, once again, Armored Grace, which we already took, I think, and Uncanny Luck, or the HP. Do you need more defense? You go with the HP first. You're fine with your defense. You go with this, because more crits. This is very strong. I didn't use it at all, but I might respec and use it. This is one of the other abilities that uses resources, but you get the resources back with the upgraded invocation once you have it. So definitely something to consider. Also, you could AI cast this pretty well. While AI casting doesn't work very well with this and this, it should work with this because you can cast on a certain amount of HP missing. So probably quite worth getting this. As I said, I didn't have it. The video where I showed fighting the vampires. But probably wouldn't have been the worst thing having it. And go with these as well. As I said, Armored Grace is pretty important. Yeah. I don't want to take this. Or this. Mechanics, I personally went with 11. You also get the Gloves of Mechanics in Neketaka. You can buy them in the same district where Alchemy lives. Then you can just go Alchemy, I suppose. Totally up to preference what you do here. I feel like Alchemy does the most, because it helps with potions. I upgraded this. It's honestly not that necessary doing it. Because, or, I mean, it is necessary maybe when you level. But if you're willing to respec, then it's probably not necessary upgrading this. Because the duration extension you get out of this isn't important anymore, because you regain resources through the invocation. And you can just, you get the way longer duration out of the empowered version of this. And you can just recast it whenever you want, because you keep getting your resources back. But most of the time you're just gonna spam charge anyway. So yeah, you could either go back, get one of these. I have superior deflection. I don't think it's worth it actually. I have it, but I'm probably gonna respec out of it. So probably improved critical here. Or just take this if you're leveling. If you're leveling, definitely take this. As I said, if you're respeccing and you wanna perfect your end build, then you don't need it, but if you don't wanna respec, maybe you wanna consider not taking this. And yeah, this should be the point where you should definitely get this. It's not as useful yet, and you might still wanna use summons instead of it, but you don't wanna reach level 19 and not have this yet, because you're gonna need to take this at 19. take improved critical, let's not forget, you might still want to take Bear's Fortitude, or Bolt's Will, or Snake's Reflexes. I have all three, but yeah, that's when you respec later. And you respec out of the skeletons is what I did, that's where I gained all those points. I got rid of skeletons and of ancient memory. So that was 3 free points for me. And I put all those 3 points into the defensive talents. But yeah, if you've gotten this, then if you haven't gotten this yet, you can get this. You could get superior deflection, or yeah, as I said, you could just go back, get these. Totally up to preference with the defensive stuff, what you want to prioritize. Do you want to get deflection? Do you want to get one of the other? There's a lot in this build which is flexible and which you have to decide on your own. The build isn't anything genius, the build isn't anything special. You don't really need Unbreakable. If you're using summons. The thing is, if you play like I did later, you're only using the invocation. So now that we're power level 19, we're gonna get it. You might consider using this. With summons you don't need it, as I explained. If you use summons in a way that you get the enemy, fight the enemy not where the combat starts but a little bit off screen, and your summons out, you'll just get up anyway after you die. But if you're not using summons anymore because, yeah, it's level 19, maybe you respec, maybe you never used summons because you didn't like them. Everybody's different. As I said, this build isn't really that much of witchery. A lot of stuff you can just go for own preference. Then maybe you want to go for Unbreakable, because it could help you in a situation where you maybe didn't expect to die. But I personally didn't take it because I'm not playing Triple Crown solo right now. Could be helpful for Triple Crown solo. I just went with damage upgrade. It's only 5%, so it's definitely not necessary to go with a damage upgrade. Not that amazing. It's like 1 damage, I think, on the base attack. And yeah, this is just the main important thing about this build. Cast this at combat start, and you're just gonna be super OP. This is where the real fun of the build starts, and this is the only thing that is really necessary. And of course you need charge on top of it. Charge and cleave stance. Those are also necessary because that's what you're just abusing with this build. So at the start of combat you want to cast this, and after you cast this you want to cast this, and then you're just gonna spam charge, as I showed at the start of the video. That's all there is to it. And yeah, once again, I can only recommend respeccing, even though respeccing is bugged right now, and we can only hope that respeccing gets fixed. But the most powerful build, even when you lose training, or if you don't even do the training because you know you're gonna lose it, so it's probably best to just not do the training at all. You're gonna get so much more out of your build if at level 19, level 20 you just redistribute your points. Because some of the stuff is pretty necessary to get it. Like, as I showed the summons, they're just very, very good early game, so yeah, if you say I can do this without summons and don't get them at all, but I personally would just recommend respeccing out of them at level 19. Yeah, you can get pretty much anything. You can get Snake's Reflex, you can get Unbending. Unbending is pretty much for free now. It does cost 3 resources, but you also don't spam it like you spam Charge. You can just put this on AI and let's say you're bloodied and then you cast this, for example, auto cast this. Yeah, that's it for an overview of the build. Sorry if I said many times that it's up to you what you build. Sorry if I'm not that clear on everything, but it's just because this is the core of the build. This is why I made the build, just to show people how strong it is. So yeah, once again, this, and then just spam this. And there you go, that's a build. The items I'm using right now, this saber you get it outside of the slave port. I don't remember the name, but you get a quest where you need to deal with slavers. Or if you know where it is, you can just go to the island on your own. The merchant is outside and he's not related to the quest at all. You can go to the merchant without any fighting. So the paralyze, it says something about 0 seconds. That's not true. It lasts for a couple of seconds, no idea how long. But I see it constantly proccing. Probably saw it in the opening clip as well. And of course the damage stacks 10 times. And if you're spamming full attacks, you just have full stacks on this super quickly. That's another 30% damage. As you can see here, what I talked about, my might bonus combined with all the other bonuses. So my base damage would be 13 to 19. And as you can see, I am a couple of points over 100% damage. And of course this happens in combat and that's another 30%. That's really good. The saber comes as legendary, you don't need to enchant it. The only thing that was an enchant that I put on it was the paralyze. The Gravebound, that's an extra enchant I put on it. This saber comes as superb or exceptional, I'm not quite sure, I remember. So I enchanted this to legendary. And yeah, this is really good for this build because of the stacking crit chance. So you get up to 100% crit chance, but it resets on crit. And you have 20% crit damage. That's just amazing. And yeah, armor. I lose this, but you get this relatively late. I think you get this in the vampire dungeon that I showed, which is probably the hardest fight in the game. Or has the hardest fights in the game. Before that, I used... sorry about this. Yeah, first I used... it was another 20% one. There we go. This is what I've used first, so 15% beneficial effect duration, and you get this super early in the game. It only has 9 armor rating. You could get it to legendary, but it's not worth it. Armor is not that good in this game because of penetration. And yeah, 20% just guarantees that with armored grace, which is minus 25%, you just don't have any armor recovery. Yeah, rings, I'm using this because I get up to 150 will reflex fortitude in combat with the 20% from vigorous defense, and I have this so I get a random buff. But before that I used, at low level I used the amulet that gives you healing. This one here, I used that as early as I got it, but it's 1 per rest, so If you don't want to spam rest, it might be not as good. I also used this when I got it for quite some time. It's pretty good. Yeah, gloves. There's a minor version of these, or they're just called gauntlets of reliability, and it's 15% instead of 30%. That's what you get early. And then as soon as you get this one, you use this one. You could also use gauntlets of accuracy. I feel like they're less good. And yeah, this is one thing in this game that might get changed. Right now I have a cloak of greater protection, and I have 2 rings of minor protection. And all of these stack, as you can see. So that wasn't the same in PoE 1, and it is intentional. They changed this for new players, so it makes more sense for them. But yeah, you have to see if this gets fixed, if this gets changed. I mean, fixed is the wrong word because it is intentional. If this gets changed, then you won't have maybe ring of regen, greater regen. This ring is pretty okay. It gives you intelligence as a chanter. And yeah. I used this saber for a long time before I changed to this saber, but because you can get the saber really early, I would just get this one. What else? Belt. Right now I'm using this. It's pretty good, I guess. You can also use troll hide belt. There's a couple of belts you can use, but I think this one is still the best. Helmet. Using this right now because this just gets cast every time combat starts. You don't have to cast it yourself. It's not very clear on that, but yeah, as far as I've seen, that's how it works. I have it whenever combat starts, so it is pretty strong. I used this helmet. You get this very early. You get this in the first city. I used this for a long time. It's 15% damage reduction. Together with this belt, it's quite a bit of damage reduction. These boots, you get them very early as well, and I just always kept them. I didn't really find better boots. Boots of speed have 5% more stride, but don't have resolve. So they're not really that good in this game. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I use this pad. You can pretty much use any pad. Whatever you find helps you. This is 10% slash damage, so I always thought that was really, really good. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the build guide. Thanks for watching and have fun playing this beautiful game. See you next time.